Okay, so here we are at the start line of stage 3 of the Santos Tour Down Under, here in beautiful King William Road. Fantastic, almost cobbled streets, Pat, heading out from here, ending up in Victor Harbor with a couple of quite reasonable climbs in between.
You know, King William Road here in the heart of Adelaide almost. It feels a little bit like Europe, really. We started here a few times when I raced Tour Down Under, and you know, the riders can have a coffee at the local coffee shop and mingle with the spectators, which sure they'll do.
From here in Unley to Victor Harbor would have been quite a traditional ride for a number of riders. Probably for the last 40 or 50 years, riders have been riding from Unley to Victor.
Back in the 60s, there was quite a cycling community in Adelaide, and it was a little bit of a sort of a milestone. If you could ride to Victor and back within 5 hours, you belonged to the group of hardcore cyclists. And yeah, my dad and my uncle and Stuart O'Grady's uncle Bob Baird, they'd start the ride around this area and then cruise off up pretty much similar to the course that we're doing today. When they got hungry, they would stop at the grapevines there and have a few grapes or whatever they could find along the way. So this particular stage from King William Road to Victor Harbor, it's a bit of the milestone.
So Pat, here we are at the top of the Skoda King of the Mountain here, Sellex Hill. Absolutely magnificent vista here. You really just can't match this, and the riders will have come from Unley, of course, made their way up the Southern Expressway, which is quite unique given that it's a traffic-only road under normal circumstances, but of course closed for the event. The riders then coming up this, which is a Category 2 climb, here up to the top of Sellex Hill.
What makes this climb difficult is the wind. It can get quite windy here. We're on the coast. You know, it's an opportunity for you know, our Team UniSA boys to launch an attack up here. It's a good place to go all out.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat. And look, for spectators, a couple of interesting spots today. People do have the option of seeing the beginning of the race. Depending on how well organised they are, they may be able to get themselves set here at Sellex Hill, or perhaps come to Sellex Hill from the beginning. And then from here, when the riders head off in a more easterly direction towards Goolwa, people can then make their way down to Victor Harbor and be able to see an excellent finish in what again is a magnificent vista. Okay, here we are at Mount Compass, the site for the first sprint of the day. The riders will have gone up Sellex Hill, just skirted around Maiponga, and then made their way around here to Mount Compass. So what are we setting up for at this stage of the race?
You know, ideal road for a breakaway because the pace will be quite slow. Well, not slow, you know, 35, 38 kilometres per hour. It's heavy road, heavy tarmac. Ideal road for some of our UniSA riders to have a go.
So the riders have come from Mount Compass, and the riders then really have what I'll call an honest sprint here into Goolwa. It's flat. They've got hundreds of metres to set up for the sprint, Pat, and you know, it could be a northerly wind at their back, which could really have them flying, or it could be a southerly, in which case they'll be flying, but maybe not as quick. So tell us what you can see happening here, Pat.
From Goolwa to Victor Harbor, if it's a crosswind, which it often is, it's going to be a very chaotic 30 kilometres of racing, and I believe the race will blow apart there.
So we're at the around about 5 kilometres to go here, Pat. We're at the top of the Inman Valley Road, looking over what is a really fantastic vista here. At this stage, the riders will have done around 130 kilometres, come from the sprint at Goolwa, a bit of mild climbing around this northern side of Victor Harbor. And at this point here, I guess it could be that there's some riders away and they'll be really looking to keep that advantage at this point, or there could be a bit of jockeying around heading down into Victor Harbor for the sprint finish. And there's a little bit of tricky manoeuvring to get down onto the esplanade itself, so we'll see whether there's any cat and mouse or what will happen there.
Very fast finish into Victor Harbor. When we rode this particular stage back in 04, we were reaching speeds of close to 70 kilometres per hour down there.
There's no doubt this is a magnificent finish to stage 3 of the Santos Tour Down Under.